2019 has been a phenomenal year for video games and all sorts of media in general. Just to keep it 100 with you guys, I have so much enjoyed every little thing I've played for the most part this year. There were a couple of games that were just kind of disappointing, not bad, just didn't completely meet my expectations, but it doesn't matter because this year was just jam-packed full of wonderful titles. This is going to be my top 10 games of 2019 as the decade wraps up. It's great that we wrapped up with a bang, and I'm going to show you guys a little bit of insight on what my top 10 were for this year. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. It has been quite some time since I got to experience some good old-fashioned mech slaying action, and although Metal Wolf Chaos definitely scratched that itch this year, Daemon X Machina took it to a whole other level. The sheer unrelenting speed and sense of verticality each fight brings you as you square off against colossal drones, fellow mech pilots, and some of the most exhilarating combat I had the pleasure to play this year. Couple that with an abundance of strong weaponry, beautiful cel-shaded visuals, and bosses that never got old and always changed their design radically, we have a recipe for one of the finest mech games I've played in quite some time. Thankfully, it doesn't look like it's going anywhere soon in terms of content. The game gets consistent updates from PvP modes being added along with collaboration DLC and new co-op missions. The online is smooth and stable, and the frame rate is indeed not as bad as it used to be at launch. The hard-hitting rock and EDM soundtrack is also everything you need to get your blood pumping from battle to battle, and if anything, it's just a shame a lot of people passed up on Daemon X Machina, as it's one of the few repetitive game loops that had its fangs hooked into me, and I couldn't put the game down running through it from start to finish, along with all the wonderful side objectives and fantastic co-op. It's honestly all I could ever ask for one of my favorite niche genres in gaming. What happens when you mix the wonderful Link to the Past and the brilliant minds over at the Crypt of the Necrodancer studio? You get one of the most unique gaming experiences I have played this year. Cadence of Hyrule is a gem. The way you combine Zelda's puzzle-oriented overworlds with Crypt of the Necrodancer's rhythm-based dungeon exploration is such a wonderful treat. The game just screams creativity, and not only that, replayability. Being able to re-explore dungeons with either Zelda, Link, or Cadence and go in with a new inventory or set of weapons is really fun to experiment with. You can also randomize the game itself with select seeds upon loading into new save files. The pixel art also deserves a huge round of applause. Each sprite is brimming with charm and personality. The dungeons, despite the randomized layouts, are loads of fun to explore as you gain new items and weapons to help you out on your adventure. And of course, the Zelda remake OST songs go hard. The game took me around 25 to 30 hours to complete, which is way more than I was expecting for a $20 game. Cadence of Hyrule is a wonderful twist on the Zelda formula, full of gorgeous sprite work, breathtaking songs, and an abundance of content. Oh, and the co-op mode is an exquisite touch. This is a game you definitely shouldn't pass up, and it's just a very chill, laid-back indie product that deserves all the love it can get. My Friend Pedro is just good plain old fun. It's a high score arcade shoot 'em up where you play as this guy. Your objective is to take out some gang in some cyber city, and that's really about it. You get pistols, assault rifles, shotguns, all sorts of dope weapons to take out every baddie in the room with style. You kick, you flip, you kick flip, and dodge and shoot everyone in your path to kill them in the most creative way possible. The more creative the kill, the higher the combo count, which means a higher score. Each section rates you with stars, so performing all your moves to the fullest and taking full advantage of your environment is extremely important. The level design is top notch and goes all over the place in terms of gameplay styles, skydiving, motorcycles, laser puzzles. There's so much to this game that makes it work. It's got a cool art style with flashy particle effects, layered world design, and a killer soundtrack. The whole game takes me back to those twin stick shooter days. It's just good fun, and sometimes that's really all we need. Also, it's the closest we'll probably get to an interactive John Wick game, so I'll take what I can get. Bloodstain is such a welcome throwback to the Castlevania games that were all over the GBA and DS era. You play as Miriam, the Shardbinder that has to explore a demonic castle and take down the evils inside, saving the village and the world. Throughout the game, you take out a plethora of enemy types, from typical flying Medusa heads to the witch that inflicts curses and some Shovel Knight enemy. The sheer amount of demons you have to take out, each with their own attack patterns and health bars, really makes each trek throughout the castle difficult. The shard mechanic really helps boost the game's exploration. When you defeat an enemy, you gain the shard. Each shard gives you a new power you can get. A damage move like a bouncing fireball or a wall of paintings, a directional special like arrows or a chainsaw blade, and transformation shards that transform Miriam or give Miriam an extension of herself like a hand that can manipulate platforms, or a shard that turns her into a bunny girl. These shards aren't the only thing helpful for defeating demons, but also helps when it comes to exploring the castle and taking on boss fights. Speaking of boss fights, these guys are tough. The human 1v1 boss fights in particular are standouts for me, as their patterns are really hard to follow and it really puts all of your abilities to max level. It's a blast to take on all the bosses, and after completing the game, the boss rush mode was definitely a welcome treat. The castle is packed to the brim with secrets and beautiful set dressing. Each section of the castle is filled to the brim with atmosphere with perfect music to match. The castle's level design is also very well executed, often offering many mechanics to mix up the platforming and puzzle elements from the norm. There's only one gripe I have with Bloodstain, and it is the performance. It has a couple of issues in terms of stuttery frame rates, freezing, and long load times. Despite those tiny issues, the game is just too much fun to pass up. I had a grin on my face from start to finish. Exploring the castle was a blast, the OST was outstanding as per usual, and the variety of weapons and moves and new skills you learn throughout the game were just really great. Bloodstain is a Kickstarter game that went way above my expectations, and despite the so-so Switch port, I think everything about this game is absolutely great. I love you, Respawn. You guys never fail when it comes to making a good game. I love both Titanfalls, each with their good and bad, and Apex Legends was a really standout battle royale. But Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is one of the best cinematic experiences I've had in gaming. It tells the story of a Padawan Cal Kestis as he tries to survive the remains of the Order 66 movement. He learns more about the rise of the Imperial Army, the Jedi's dark past, and most importantly, himself as he goes on a journey to seek out more Jedi and rebuild the Jedi Order. The control in this game is, well, top notch. I really love how the Force powers work in conjunction with the world. Pulling vines to you and pushing objects out of the way to solve puzzles is a neat way to keep players experimenting with the Force and do what they can to unlock new powers. The temples are great fun to explore and definitely give me those Zelda vibes. Combat is very reminiscent of the Soulsborne games like Sekiro and Nioh. So what's the changing factor for this game from the rest? The Force powers. Being able to push enemies into walls and off ledges will never get old, and the Force pull into lightsaber stab, goated. The world is meticulously crafted with tons of references and love poured into every nook and cranny. The game may be a bit basic in terms of action game content, however that's all good for me because I really enjoyed the story, gameplay, and cinematic look, all things considered. It's one of the most heartbreaking yet rewarding Star Wars experiences I had in a long time. Again, the downside here, similar to Bloodstain, is the performance is really wide in issues. Sometimes the Xbox version is very bad, the PS4 has stuttery frames, the Xbox One X version actually ran really smoothly for me on both performance and 4K mode. The PS4 Pro version I haven't tested yet, unfortunately, but I hear it does have a couple frame rate dips over there too, and the PC version seems the most stable, so remember, buy stuff on PC, guys. Okay, first things first, just look at this game. It's absolutely breathtaking on every platform I played, especially the next-gen Xbox One X and PS4 Pro consoles in glorious 4K. The game just oozes style and charm in every single section. The particle effects and lighting work wonders to boost this game's graphical fidelity to the max. All the character models look phenomenal, like no joke, when I got to the Monsters Inc. and Toy Story World, it felt, no, literally looked just as good as those films. The Monsters Inc. world was also another standout area that blew my socks off and had a great story to boot. KH3 is just euphoric. It was insanely satisfying pulling off a wide array of combos while slowing down time, shot locking and jumping from structure to structure, weaving through hordes of Heartless, all in an effort to clear an enemy room, which is just way too much fun in this game. The Keyblades are also a welcome switch up. Every Keyblade has its own 2 forms, or it can activate depending on how much damage he dishes out with melee attacks, or you can get a souped up version of your magic attacks, again depending on how much magic you use during a fight. All of these elements come together, spliced in with the flow motion movement and very busted attractions, make for some of the most insane RPG combat I've played in quite some time. The worlds are also very well picked. I couldn't get enough of the Big Hero 6, Toy Story, and Monsters Inc., and one of the biggest surprises for me, the Tangled world, all offering their own flavor of fun and even unique enemy types to take out. The only boring world I didn't really mess with was Frozen. It just wasn't a lot of fun to play through and felt like a drag. However, that final boss was kinda worth it. Oh, and a slight hot take, I really enjoyed the climax of Kingdom Hearts 3. Sure, the pacing felt a bit rushed, but it was tons of fun going through the gauntlet of bosses, seeing returning faces, and finally ending the Xehanort saga. It was everything I expected, and in terms of gameplay it often surpassed my expectations, which is all I could ever ask for. I've never played an indie game so perfectly paced and beautifully crafted like Katana Zero. Every frame of the game is a work of art. Pixel art is incredibly fluid, and the rundown cyberpunk city looks and feels grotesque. To couple the grim atmosphere, we have top-of-the-line punishing level design and gameplay where every slash, jump, and dodge must be timed perfectly or it could be your demise. You play as the Assassin Zero, a former war veteran serving your psychiatrist for reasons that will be explained in-game, and it's up to you to kill the underbelly of the cyberpunk world and unravel Zero's personal story along with the nightmares that plague mission after mission. If I had a way to describe this game, it'd probably be Super Meat Boy meets Hotline Miami. Most levels have this grandiose sense of verticality as you scale skyscrapers, rundown apartments, or even TV studios as you make your way to slay your target. The level design is, once again, some of the best I've seen, often having new tricks and mechanics to mess around with, lasers you can activate to kill bunches of enemies at once, staying hidden in a club or crowd, dancing, or literally going off the rails as you scramble to protect a minecart. Every single level in the game has a clever mechanic to complement the gameplay in some way, shape, or form. Speaking of which, the control is super tight. Zero has this nice weight to him when doing the standard jumping, rolling, and attacking. So when you start chaining attacks together and executing a carefully crafted plan, it makes for a gratifying showcase of bullets being deflected, attacks being parried, and you coming off as an untouchable beast. However, if you want to take things slow, and I mean really slow, you can slow down time with the tap of a button, allowing you to make split-second decisions which can be the difference between life and death. Everything just feels so responsive, and the level design is such a breath of fresh air, constantly throwing new things into the mix to match all of the cool new features you learn throughout your runtime with the game. Music is also phenomenal, ranging from stylish synth-step battle themes and very relaxed rest area themes that just fit the mood. Surprisingly, out of all of this, what really grabbed me was the roller coaster of emotions the story was. It was chock full of twists and turns that constantly had me guessing and keeping me on the tip of my toes, while at the same time made me sit down and reflect basically my entire life. Katana Zero is a wonderful case study of war, veterans recovery, and 2D platforming as a whole. It's a darn shame this game went under the radar, as it deserves all the attention it can get. Also, the replay feature at the end of every level is like one of the most satisfying things, especially after completing something really difficult, and if you're not playing Katana Zero, you're messing up. Please give this game a chance. It's Fire Emblem, man. What else do I have to say? After a rocky road from the so-so fates and the good but repetitive echoes, Three Houses comes back to console with 3 different storylines, a bunch of characters to talk to, and a whole lot of support conversations to tackle on. There really isn't much to say here, it's just a standout JRPG. The tactical, turn-based combat is as fun as ever, and I love how flexible class customization is in this game, thanks to the training camp, teaching, and the monastery as a whole. Speaking of the monastery, it is a welcome addition, giving you a relaxing hub to run around in, catch up with your students along with various side projects, and, well, the story is just way too good, touching on and not limited to war crimes, haunting of ghosts, watching friends slowly decline into insanity, fascism, racism, and many other topics. The characters in all of the houses are very grounded, each with their own set of flaws, insecurities, and quirks that all just kind of stick with you. Some standouts for me are easily Felix, Bernadetta, and Dimitri. They're great, I love them, we stand. The war politics and character development alone carries this game, but throw in a wonderful class building system, a wide array of battles to tackle, and some pretty fun gimmicks like the Ballista and Magic Ballista. Well, all of that stuff accumulates into one heck of a JRPG. RE2 is darn near perfect. I said it, okay? Out the gate. The art style on display is a masterwork of next-gen visuals. The RPD looks decrepit, broken down, and completely destroyed in what looks like only a matter of days. The sewers are gross and revolting, and the parking garage is, I guess, just straight up spooky. Gunplay and zombies are a puzzle within themselves. Trying to conserve ammo by shooting limbs off so you could sneak by an already claustrophobic hallway will never fail to be tense. And when Mr. X is introduced, the game's already nerve-wracking environment turns into unrivaled anxiety as you creak and slip away corner to corner. The unmatched audio design needs full compliments as well. Gunshots sound powerful or weak depending on the weapon in hand. The zombie moans and liquors slithering about really makes your skin crawl. The dripping of water from the ceiling to the floor and the soft rain against the windows all creates a classic sense of dread. Puzzles are often rewarding to solve, always having multiple layers and rewarding player exploration. And if you ever want seconds, once the game's complete, it gives you an entire secondary campaign to play through with both Leon and Claire. The only gripe I have with Resident Evil 2 is the boss fights. They do sadly boil down to shoot weak spot and run, rinse, repeat. I guess a bit more creativity could have gone into them, but the set pieces these boss fights take place in alone carry the game for me, so it's all good. RE2 is a masterpiece, a perfect concoction of ingenious puzzle solving, slow-paced gunplay, and a drop-dead gorgeous world to explore with a story that left me hooked into the very end. It's Devil May Cry 5. Like, come on. Not only does the RE engine come out on top once again in terms of graphical fidelity, the gameplay is unrivaled, fast-paced, taunt-filled, high-octane combos. Fill the screen as you dance around demons, dishing out damage left and right. It is absolutely superb. With 3 playable characters and a seemingly never-ending set of weapons, it just fits the bill of Devil May Cry video game fun. The levels are also very good, offering tons of variety from open European streets to cramped subway halls to the pits of a demonic hellish world, and the enemies are stunning and surprisingly straight up hideous at times, looking ghastly and out of this world. Story-wise, the game hits all of my corny needs. It's surprisingly effective, and I love the energy the characters bring while they interact with each other. And of course, we have to deep dive into the game's mechanics, as that's what always makes a DMC game special in my heart. It's just robust in terms of combat. The Devil Breakers make combat constantly fresh and flashy, giving each combo an extender or finisher of sorts depending on how much you want to end a string. You can overcharge a Devil Arm for a huge AoE attack or keep using it as a standard to make combo string together. One can be used as a gust of wind to either dodge attacks or carry demons with you as you drag combos out longer and longer. one is just a grab, and well, the list goes on. Dante is as fun as ever. Being able to switch stances on the fly similar to DMC4 is really helpful as per usual, and his Devil Trigger is a bunch of fun to use. I also really love how quickly and effectively all of his stances can be switched into. Royal Guard is superb, and I love hitting parry combos, and the enemies are definitely relentless, especially this big knight guy right here, who is also kind of a boss fight of sorts. The weapons Dante carries are insane, from the standard sword and gauntlets to a motorcycle, which I still can't get over, and that's without me touching upon all the typical technical stuff like enemy stepping, attack canceling, etc, etc. Oh, and how about that OST? DMC5 is the definition of a video game in my eyes. It's a blast to play, it's creative in its level design, and filled to the brim with personality. It also has some of the best cutscenes I've seen this year. It's got an outstanding story, it's a work of art unmatched in any of the video games I've played this year. And that's gonna do it for our top 10 games of 2019. Now I know you're gonna be wondering where some of our other games are at, like Control, Borderlands 3, River City Girls, etc. Well, some games just didn't make the cut, and some of them, unfortunately, I just didn't get the chance to completely play through, sadly. But however, with that all being said, I will eventually be covering those games in some format, whether it be a podcast, review, video essay, whatever. I just want to talk about all the stuff I love. Thank you all so much for sticking with me throughout 2019. It's been a phenomenal year. I'm glad I got to cover so many great titles in such a short amount of time. It's been a blast going through so many good games, talking with you guys, all that good stuff, and I'm still going to keep it locked here on this channel with video reviews, video essays, analysis, all that good stuff. So if you do enjoy the content, I have one New Year's request. If you could subscribe to me down below and make sure you check the bell icon so you can be notified when my videos go up, that would be absolutely incredible, because then I can finally reach you guys, you know, when videos get sent out, because sometimes they don't get pushed to sub boxes and all that unfortunate stuff. Also, comment down below your guys' top 10. I'm really curious to see what you guys have to say about what your guys' thoughts were for 2019. Maybe you have a top 15, maybe even have a top 20. I just want to hear what you guys think of, because games this year have just been absolutely incredible. Thank you all again so much for sticking with me throughout 2019, and I hope we all have a wonderful 2020 going forward. Peace.